hello, you two. I am Queen Lillie, and today we are discussing Donald Trump. Yes, this is Life Under Trump Part 39. Yes, Life Under Trump Part 39. It's a lot to cover. The Dems are highly upset with the Republican Party. The Republican Party is not willing to meet them to make amends on things for us, the people. A lot is happening, you guys. I just ran in the house, so I'm a little frazzled dazzled a little bit. Yes, a lot is happening. Republicans don't plan on making things work with the Democrats. Elon Musk had a meeting yesterday with the press at Donald Trump's office, but he was the one doing the talking like he is the president, and Elon is not the president, but he's being treated as if he is the president. Elon Musk is being treated like he is the president. And I'm going to tell y'all something I found humorous. Elon Musk's son, that bad little boy. Can y'all hear me? Hold on. If you can't hear me, hold on, okay? Give me a moment if you can't hear me. I apologize. Let me know if you can hear me. Yesterday at the White House Oval Office, Elon's son was so disrespectful to Donald Trump. He told Donald Trump to shush his mouth. Who is raising that child? Who? Why do you disrespect your elders? He was disrespecting Donald Trump on so many levels. And another thing that baffled me about that press conference at the Oval Office, Elon Musk couldn't answer the questions properly. He was just rumbling. He was word vomiting that makes no sense. I watched it and I was so disappointed in the Republican MAGA party, and I was disappointed in Elon Musk. You want to run something, then you're going to have to carry yourself presidential. Donald Trump sitting there in his seat at the desk, allowing Elon Musk's son to disrespect him. Elon Musk, get your son X in order. That was very disrespectful. So whether I like Donald Trump or not, that little boy X was disrespecting Donald Trump. He is the president of the United States. I'm not proud of it, but it is. So we got a lot to cover, y'all. A lot is happening. They don't care about disappointing the American people. They don't care about our finances. They don't care about the groceries. They're not caring about anything but fattening their pockets, buying Greenland, trying to buy Canada, want to buy, no, he said they're going to go take Gaza. Y'all, what's going on here? What is going on with America? Everything is being done than what was promised to the American people. The American people are paying higher food prices. The American people have not received what we were told we would receive. Hit that like button. Again, this is part 69, A Life Under Donald Trump. Let me clean my screen off and we're going to get started. It is cold today here. I think it's what, 40-something degrees? It was just 75 degrees the other day. I've been outside. I had to run back home and get on this live because I got a lot to show y'all today. A lot. We got a lot to talk about. I'm cleaning my screen. Give me a moment. So much is happening in this world. America's in trouble. No one cares about American people. People are filing their taxes and they're getting crazy numbers saying they owe so much money, which they have never owed that kind of money in their life. I'm scared to file mine now because the American people, everybody is complaining. They're saying they can't even pay for they mortgage and pay their bills, car notes, and buy groceries for their children. But they got a high tax bill. And then some of them say when they're making plans to pay it, it's 5% on it, then another percent on it. I'm like, oh, Lord, Jesus. Then that explains why when I had to pay taxes that time, I spent over $4,000 something. Lord Jesus. Whew. America. We got to pray. So we have a lot to cover. And as I stated to y'all, this is Life Under Trump, part 69. Hold on, please. Just a moment. I'm going to show y'all a video of the president of Mexico. And that's what I expect to see from our president right now. But we're not receiving that. The president of Mexico is very presidential. And what Donald Trump giving us is he's the vice president, Elon is the president. I'm paying attention to what's going on. Trump's sitting there letting Elon talk. Elon is the president. You saw him on the cover of Time magazine. JD Vance. Where's JD Vance? Is he alive? Where is he? He's not doing his presidential, his vice president part at all. Hold on, y'all. Okay, I'm back. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you all a video of the president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, and her being so presidential is what I want for this country. And they said women can't do this, and they want to take women's rights. But when women do it, we do it right. There's no mistaking when we do it. We're good at it. And Trump is not being a very good president right now at all. Thank you for the hearts. Somebody was sending me hearts. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm not going to read y'all negative comments because I'm going to tell you what MAGA does. MAGA goes and report my channel and allow me that I'm bullying and harassing them when I have screenshots of y'all bullying and harassing me. So I have your name and everything. I already sent them over to YouTube because I am going against what you're saying because y'all be in my chat saying all kind of rude stuff that's not true. And if I come back at you with your sour depends on, you'll get mad. And that's what white people do. Y'all like to bully people. That's what Donald Trump does, a big bully. White folks like to bully black people and think you're not going to get retaliated on. Yes, you are. Put that pacifier in your mouth and get your A whipped. So we're going to let this commercial play.
If your matching set doesn't make
and
you
we're gonna get started.
Just haven't tried to come.
It's a little warm in here now. Y'all gotta come out of the sweater, but it was cold outside. Very cold outside.
Material and a buttery soft fabric.
When I tell y'all it is cold out there, very
it is something you will never
cold outside.
Once you try it, you'll understand the hype.
Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum is bringing the fire, and at a press conference she just held, she's calling out Donald Trump's tariffing the world, including Mexico, 25% on steel and aluminum. She's just saying, like, do y'all realize that based on the current trading posture, this is actually going to hurt the United States of America far more than it's actually even going to hurt Mexico? Hey, Donald, you may want to use a little logic. Oh, wait, you don't have any. Mexico's powerful president, Claudia Sheinbaum. Let's watch it.
With the increase in tariffs on steel and aluminum by the United States, this country would be violating the trade agreement that exists between Mexico, Canada, and the United States by being a unilateral imposition.
It is until March 12th. This is important. Particularly in the case of steel and aluminum, the United States exports more than it imports. So there is no deficit in favor of Mexico. On the contrary, it's in favor of the United States. It's a very important argument to say that there is no point in imposing tariffs. And we have to establish the best possible relationship with the United States, always defending Mexico's interests, but seeking to convince the President of the United States and his entire cabinet that the trade agreement we have has created economic integration that benefits the United States. It benefits Mexico too. It benefits Canada, but it benefits the United States. The only way to compete with Asia, particularly with China and other countries, is to stick together.
And I just want to show you how cool and collected Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum is. For example, the day before, when Donald Trump had just stated that he was going to do these tariffs on Air Force One after saying that there would be a 30-day pause on the tariffs before, right? First he was going to tariff, and then there was a 30-day pause after he made a fake deal. Then he said, okay, I'm tariffing the world when it comes to aluminum and steel, even though I made deals with Mexico and Canada, whatever. I break deals. My name is Trump. I lie about everything. So Claudia Sheinbaum finds out about it on the media, the way everybody else does, because Donald Trump is so chaotic. The media asks her about it, and watch how President Claudia Sheinbaum handles it. She's just like, look, I heard about it the same way y'all heard about it on the news. We're going to get through this together once again. Play this clip.
Has there been any communication regarding the tariffs on aluminum and
We
steel?
found out the same way through yesterday's publication in the media.
And they would expect there to be a negotiation around that.
Well, let's wait. As I say today, keep a cool head in this. Let's wait to see if something is announced today. And from there, we'll make our decisions.
About what you said regarding the weapons, would Mexico then expect there to be an executive order?
Well, I
so
don't
that
know if
will
it's an
be-
executive order or what mechanisms. What we want is collaboration and coordination. Without subordination and submission, as we have said on multiple occasions. Mexico and the United States share a border of more than 3,000 kilometers. We are the main commercial partner of the United States, and we have common problems and diverse problems. In Mexico, there is not a serious problem of fentanyl consumption, nor the problems related to drug consumption that exist in the United States. They have that problem.
And what I love as well is, President
You
Claudia
all-
Sheinbaum.
She's not lying. The problem with fentanyl is not Mexico. That is an American problem. And it is made by YT people here in America. Mexico has nothing to do with the fentanyl problem here in America. Who's mixing it in their warehouses and their trailer parks? It's not Mexico. No, it's America doing it themselves. Donald Trump even blamed Canada. It's not Canada. It's the YT men and some women cooking up that stuff themselves, putting it out on the streets, destroying other Americans. That's who's doing it. We're going to go over to a little bit of Jasmine Crockett. Then we got a major thing I want to show y'all, how we got to this point and who really Donald Trump really is. But we're going to get to that real soon. Just a moment.
The most affordable 12-month GLP-1 program with the same active ingredient as Ozempic and Wegovy. For one payment upfront, 12 months of weight loss by hers includes one weekly injection. App content to help you achieve your weight loss goals.
Now recognize the gentlewoman from Texas, Ms. Crockett, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Mr. Catalcove, I'm just going to go ahead and pick up where you left off really quickly. Just to be clear, the upgrades that you're talking about as it relates to our data processes, these aren't things that would be free, are they? They would cost some kind of money. Not looking for a number, but they will cost, correct?
Some are free and some would cost money.
Okay. All right. So I just want to leave it there because we've had a number of these hearings. So I do want to be clear, before the Trump administration came in, this committee did exist in the form of the Oversight Committee, and our task is to root out waste, fraud, and abuse. In that vein, we had a number of hearings, at least last term. I can't speak for any other term as I'm only in my sophomore term. And we dealt with improper payments. And interestingly enough, our chairwoman, who is so passionate about this today, she missed every single one of those improper payment hearings. But just to be clear, I was there. So I don't want anyone to believe.
I'm going to stop this a moment. Are any of my moderators here today? I want you to screenshot that comment. When did you decide to transition? I'm not going to argue with y'all because y'all not even on my level in any form. You don't have the things that I have. So sit down and be humble. As Kendrick Lamar said, Sunday, which the message that he put out with his performance were for Black people. So sit down and be humble. Bow down to me, because you in my chat, disrespecting me. Any moderators in my chat right now, screenshot that. I've been screenshotting things already anyway. The disrespect is going to stop in my chat because y'all disrespect me, but you'll run to YouTube and say I'm bothering you. How in the F I'm bothering you when I'm putting on a show about Donald Trump? I don't even respond to you, typing back to you. Be respectful, get the fuck out. One moment, please.
Work and don't plan to do work. In fact, I'm trying to figure out exactly what it is that the Republicans believe our job is, because right now they have relinquished their constitutional duties over to an unelected bureaucrat, someone who no one went out to vote for. And absolutely, he is occupying the Oval Office, as we saw yesterday. And that is a first for me, to see someone occupying the Oval Office who's never actually been elected to the Oval Office and actually answering more questions than the person that allegedly got elected. But for whatever reason, this is the first time we're having a Doge subcommittee hearing, and that guy's not here. Instead, we have y'all. So I do want to thank you for coming. But I will say this, it's also interesting to me that in the first few days of Doge existing, we know that they are trying to get rid of the Department of Education, USAID, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. They're laying off FAA workers. They are going after the FDA, the CDC, the HHS, the FBI agents, and they're talking about getting rid of FEMA. And they brought y'all in. And I am going to say that I actually was shocked that there was only one person that seemed like he was an overt Trumper as you laid out your opening remarks, because I anticipated that at least one of y'all would say, yes, what Elon is doing is exactly what we would prescribe. But instead, I will applaud you because you actually were focused. You talked about what the American people are looking for us to do. We've actually consistently on this side of the aisle promoted this idea of making investments into technology so that we can do things such as, say, look at the Department of Defense. The Department of Defense that takes up approximately 50% of our discretionary income, or our discretionary spending. Approximately 50% goes to Department of Defense. Department of Defense has not been able to pass an audit in the last 6 audits, and we're not talking about pennies. I understand that we want everything to be perfect, and if we could get all waste, fraud, and abuse out, that would be fantastic. But let me talk about the big numbers. The big numbers are on that side. When we look at, say, our entire workforce, our federal workforce, as we're trying to somehow fire all of them, they don't even make up a total of 5%. It's even less than that when we look at our budget. But let's talk about defense. That just happens to be the same side of the ledger that Mr. Musk gets the vast majority of his money from. In fact, at the same time that they were unlawfully, and we will stay in court, because on this side, we believe in law and order. We believe in, a number of us are actually lawyers, but nevertheless, we understand the Constitution. We believe in that as well. And so there's things such as, impoundment, right? Because as Mr. Whitson said, he said, we need to return the power of the purse to Congress. It never left. According to the Constitution, that's where it's at. Now, I know that people are confused right now because for whatever reason, we had a guy that went in, and you talk about people invading our data. Listen, people said that they were upset about TikTok, but I'm upset about the guy that runs Twitter, who for sure is doing nefarious things, because I don't understand, if you are trying to conduct audits and figure out where the waste, fraud, and abuse is, I don't know why you would go to some tech guy. In fact, it was only techies that were sitting there at inauguration. We didn't have auditors. I would welcome auditors to come in and do forensic audits. In fact, he sat there in the Oval Office yesterday and he admitted that he was lying, and he was using his propaganda machine to do it when he said that we sent millions of dollars to Gaza for condoms. That was a lie. So let me tell you something.
The gentlelady's time has expired. The gentlelady's time has expired.
Rein in this rogue actor known as
The gentlelady's
Elon
time
Musk.
has expired. I now recognize the gentleman from Missouri, Mr. Burleson.
Elon, you setting a bad example for that son that you had over in the Oval Office with you yesterday. That bad little child that does not get spanked apparently when he's being disrespectful. He disrespected Donald Trump yesterday. He told Donald Trump several times to shut your mouth, to shush your mouth. He is not the elder. Donald Trump is. Elon, what are you doing at home? Because your son has no home training whatsoever, a very disrespectful young man. You do not speak to your elders that way. I don't have to like Donald Trump to know you don't disrespect your elders. How y'all raising y'all YT children? Because they are the most disrespectful little kids today. Let's get to the good foot of what's really going on. This right here, this is going to break down some of the life under Trump, part 69, the dangerous maniac, Donald Trump. So we're going to go ahead and get to it. One moment, please. Thank y'all for coming to my live. You are valued. You appreciate it. I thank each and every last one of you beautiful kings and queens. Let's respect each other. That's number one to me. Respect.
It was clear to my fellow doctors and to fellow scientists and to just concerned people that there was something seriously the matter.
I'm concerned about many things about his mental instability, but especially in the immediate present, I'm most worried about his unfettered authority to launch nuclear weapons.
It made me consider, if I have devoted my entire career to studying and preventing violence, would I turn away in the face of perhaps the greatest violence that we could ever face?
I can't in good conscience, even though at one point I was really scared and I'm going to risk my license. I took the point of view that I wouldn't be comfortable doing anything but speaking out.
My real concern becomes this perpetuation of cultural trauma through the ideology of racism, and oppression. There is an imperative to speak out against that which is unjust.
Well, I've given ethics a lot of consideration. I agree with the guidelines not to diagnose from afar and not to do armchair psychiatry. In fact, it's precisely to avoid that I am warning the public about the dangers that they are facing and calling for a full evaluation.
In coming out and speaking about this, I've taken a lot of flack. People are like, oh, this is a political thing. I have voted for both Democrats and Republicans over the years. For me, this is a genuine concern for our nation and, frankly, the world.
The preamble to the Code of Ethics of the American Psychiatric Association is that my responsibility, first and foremost, is to my patients as well as to society. It means that my responsibility, first and foremost, is not to a public figure, not to President Trump, not to the American Psychiatric Association, but to my patients and to society.
I think it's vitally important that American psychiatrists not make the same mistake that German psychiatrists did in the 1930s when they remained silent. They do not deserve any credit or honor for that.
There are plenty of people in the world that don't have this training that speak out anyway without actual expertise. And so if they're the only voices giving, out there in the world, that's very problematic.
He's done three things that I regard as indicative of dangerousness. He has incited his followers to violence. He has boasted of his own repeated sexual violence, and he has threatened violence in the future.
He has endorsed violence in public speeches that can lay the groundwork for a culture of violence and give rise to epidemics of violence.
If you have somebody who tends towards what we call malignant narcissism and excessive grandiosity and such, when he's put in an office where you are the most powerful man in the world, his character traits, rather than being adaptive, get exacerbated, and that the power of the presidency itself can actually aggravate his tendency to grandiosity.
He has no responsibility to what most of us consider to be reality. I call this solipsistic reality, that is, his reality alone, the sense of what his self perceives and needs becomes his entire reality. I would focus on his inability to cope calmly with crisis, but rather to respond to any questioning of his views with a kind of attack mode and a potential for violence. And that attack mode, potential for violence, is under the category of dangerousness.
We also can understand psychopathology, this idea of a feeling that one has the right to do whatever they desire to do. We also see the idea of talk about obsession and compulsive behavior being played out several times. When we look at the claims that he indeed groped or kissed individuals in a manner that they did not desire, which is a compulsive behavior.
The fact that Trump, because of his narcissism, can get so addled and can get into sort of a schoolyard screaming match with a dictator from North Korea is quite disturbing.
There are people who lie all the time and don't know it. Confabulation is when someone tells you something that's absolutely wrong and they firmly believe it to be true. This happens a lot with people with neurologic disease. When you see someone who lies all the time, you say, what could be wrong with that person? Is this a personality problem? Or is this a brain problem? Is it getting worse?
Then there are some shifts or some distortions that exist within the cognitive structures or cognitive processes of the individual in question. This is the idea that I'm the least racist person. I am the best. I've done all of these things by myself, right? Indicates some level of distortion.
He brags about swindling people in trades, in deals that he's made, and that he's able to deceive people and lie to them.
He gets himself to believe these things, such as his inauguration being the best attended, or that he really won the popular vote because 3 to 5 million undocumented immigrants came and voted for Hillary Clinton.
When I was in the Navy, the nuclear weapons people in the Navy have rules about who can handle nuclear weapons. And you have to be of sound mind to do this. And there are criteria and procedures for all these people who are working with nuclear weapons, except for the one person who's in charge of it.
An Air Force psychiatrist recently wrote a short article describing the careful study that is done of anyone who is associated with nuclear weapons in terms of stability and response to crisis. No such examination is performed routinely on the American president. And we think that's wrong. And that would pertain to any president, not just Donald Trump.
There's this model in mental health called the diathesis stress model. Diathesis is a pre-existing condition, and stresses are environmental factors. And you put a pre-existing condition in a stressful environment, and it blossoms, it comes out. It's more likely to come out. So if you have a pre-existing personality disorder and you are in a stressful position, like, I don't know, the presidency, that is a lot more likely to emerge and more severely.
It's so much that I gotta show y'all. I'm gonna go to the next video because this is gonna explain his behavior. He's very manic. I call him a maniac. Yes, I do. Very manic. And this particular video is about this man is lying to us. Donald J. Trump. He's lying to the American people about everything that comes out of his mouth is a lie.
This is a permanent set of teeth.
One moment.
Or a totally fixed set of teeth. This is sturdy as can be. So they match exactly what you want. You'll get it.
Hey everyone, it's Will from The Bulwark. Well, here we are. Americans decided to re-elect Donald Trump. And now the liars and cowards who helped Trump get elected are trying to tell us that he's not at all the nasty, vengeful, wannabe dictator we all thought he was. So today, I'm going to show you what those liars are saying on TV. And then I'm going to show you the truth. I'm going to show you what Trump has actually been saying for the last 3 months. And you're going to see with your own eyes that he's absolutely as vicious and dangerous as all of us at the Bulwark said he was. Let's start with the gaslighting. Here's what Vivek Ramaswamy, a propagandist for the new administration, said on Sunday when he was asked this question by ABC's Jonathan Karl.
Mike Davis, who had been mentioned by Donald Trump Jr. as a possible candidate for Attorney General in a new Trump administration, has been calling for all-out revenge against Trump's opponents. I want to give you just a couple of examples, and believe me, there are many, but a couple of examples of what he has said on X. He says Trump's opponents attempted to bankrupt him for non-fraud, imprison him for non-crimes, and take him off the ballot, and take off his head. Now they want unity. F them. Let's unify them in prison.
Well, look, the fact of the matter is you haven't heard that from Donald Trump.
Really? We haven't heard that from Trump? What do you think Trump's been saying?
What you're hearing from Donald Trump is he is going to be a president for all Americans. He is a guy who, in that first term, he had crowds chanting "lock her up" for Hillary Clinton. He didn't prosecute her. I think Donald Trump is focused on what makes people's lives better. And I think it's time to turn the page on a lot of these histrionics or Hitler comparisons or airlifting some quote of some person who Donald Trump.
This is so that's the party line. Trump never said this awful stuff about jailing people. And watch what Ramaswamy said when Karl pointed out that, in fact, when Trump was president the first time, he did try to prosecute his political enemies.
I've heard you say that he didn't prosecute Hillary Clinton. I mean, I've talked to Bill Barr about this. He wanted the Justice Department to prosecute, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and they kind of pulled him back. But your sense is that retribution talk is done?
I'm going to tell you what Donald Trump has said on this time and again. Success will be our retribution. Success will be our vengeance. That's a direct
Vic
line
is
from
a
Donald
liar.
Trump.
Vic is a liar, y'all.
Oh, yeah. A beautiful sentiment. All that talk about Trump seeking revenge, according to these liars, that's all made up. Here's another Trump propagandist, Congressman Byron Donalds, peddling the same story this weekend on Fox News.
For the American people who've been listening to these lies from the
Yes, sir,
Democratic left, I
Master.
would tell
That's
you,
who he is.
this is not something that Donald Trump has ever spoken to or he's committed to whatsoever. There's no enemies list. I mean, yeah, there are people who've been opposed to him, but he is focused on the American people. That's his focus. His focus is the American people, not some enemies list that only gets talked about in the Daily Kos or Salon.com or any other place like that.
Oh, no. There's no enemies list. I mean, why would you believe your own eyes? For example, this interview Trump did on October 20th, just 3 weeks ago.
That's an enemy from within. That is a threat to democracy. These are bad people. We have a lot of bad people. But when you look at Shifty Schiff and some of the others, they are, to me, the enemy from within. I think Nancy Pelosi is an enemy from within.
And then, a week later, Trump said this at a rally in Atlanta.
But Kamala is labeling more than half of the country as the enemy combatants, and she's calling them all fascists and Nazis, okay? But she's a fascist, okay? She's a fascist.
Now, that's a complete fabrication. Kamala Harris never called Americans enemy combatants or anything like that. You can look it up. But it's telling that Trump, in his fabrication, chose to use that phrase.
70%
A commercial, you guys.
Buy two, get
One moment, please.
free gift. Zapta is having their biggest early.
He wants us to think of our fellow Americans as the enemy. And he was adding Harris, along with Pelosi and Adam Schiff, to that list. And then a week later, at a rally in Pennsylvania, he added Michelle Obama.
But she came at me the other day. That's not nice of her to do. And I think we're going to start having a little fun with Michelle. I think we're going to have a little fun with Michelle.
Now, what does Trump intend to do to the people on his enemies list?
That's dog
well, for
whistling.
starters, He says he could throw Hillary Clinton in jail. Here's what he said on the Lex Friedman podcast in September.
I could have done a big number on Hillary Clinton. I thought it looked terrible to take the president's wife and put her in prison. She's so lucky. I didn't do anything. She's so lucky.
Bear in mind, Hillary Clinton has never even been charged with a crime. But Trump says the only reason she's not in jail is because he has graciously decided not to put her there. And he said it again just a couple of weeks ago in a radio interview with Hugh Hewitt. The audio here isn't great, but you'll hear Trump say, "I could have had her put in jail."
I could have had her put in jail. And I decided I didn't want to do that.
Remember, when Trump says he personally could have put Hillary Clinton in jail, that means that 2 months from now, when he takes office, he believes he can do that. And these people, Clinton, Pelosi, Schiff, Harris, are just the beginning of Trump's list of enemies. Listen to what he said at a rally in September about people who criticize his appointees to the Supreme Court.
These people should be put in jail the way they talk about our judges and our justices, trying to get them to sway their vote, sway their decision.
Now, to be fair, Trump doesn't
That's
think
what he
everyone
does.
on his enemies list deserves to be thrown in jail. For example, he has a different plan for Liz Cheney, the former Congresswoman who served as vice chair of the committee that investigated Trump's role in the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Here's what Trump said about that committee at an appearance in Arizona 2 weeks ago on October 31st.
They call it the J6 Select Committee, like select. They're not select, they're scum. They deleted and destroyed all evidence, all documents. There's nothing. And the reason they did it is because they were guilty as hell. It's the greatest cover-up.
Okay, that's a complete lie about the committee destroying evidence. But listen to what Trump said at that same event about what should be done to Cheney.
Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face.
Are you feeling the unity? Are you feeling the love? Now, of course, Trump's PR men swear he wasn't personally threatening to have Cheney executed. And I'm sure they can also explain why, in the next clip I'm about to show you, Trump didn't actually threaten to withhold money for disaster relief from California. Here's the clip from a rally Trump did on October 12th. He was talking about the governor of California, Gavin Newsom.
And we'll force it down his throat. And we'll say, Gavin, if you don't do it, we're not giving you any of that fire money that we send you all the time for all the forest fires that you have.
So let's see. Clinton, Schiff, Pelosi, Harris, Cheney, Newsom. Who else is on the enemies list? Oh yeah, the press.
Black
Here's
and
what Trump
brown
said
people.
about them at his rally in Madison Square Garden 2 weeks ago.
Even the enemy, because they are the enemy, what they've said, even that enemy too, and they're really the enemy. They're the enemy of the people, the press.
And what does Trump plan to do to the press? Well, for starters, he wants to take away their broadcast licenses. And he wants to force at least one news program off the air. Listen to what Trump said at a rally in Michigan on October 25th.
One moment, we gotta let the commercial play, and then we will continue. We gotta like the cover with this Donald Trump maniac. Donald Trump is a true maniac, psychopath.
And 60 Minutes should be taken off the air. They should. And CBS should lose its license.
And then, here's what he said at a rally in Nevada a week later.
I think CBS should lose its license, but I think ABC should lose its license also because of what they think.
Why does Trump want to censor these networks? Because he doesn't like the way ABC moderated his debate with Harris.
He got his
also
tail
doesn't like
whipped.
the way 60 Minutes edited an interview with her. But getting pulled off the air is the least of what Trump wants to do to the press. Watch what he said at a rally in Pennsylvania on November 3rd, 2 days before the election, about reporters at that rally who might be in the line of fire if somebody tried to shoot him.
To get me, somebody would have to shoot through the fake news. And I don't mind that so much.
Psychopath.
I don't mind that.
So let's cut the crap about how Trump has no enemies list and the only retribution he wants is success, and how he's never said all the mean things he's accused of by the liberal media. Trump is a hater, and he's out for vengeance, and he's been threatening for months to punish the Democrats, cripple the media, and throw people in jail. And this garbage...
MAGA, you just saw the words coming out of Donald Trump's mouth. But you'll sit here in my chat and say it didn't happen. So you're a psychopath as well. You're a Looney Tunes nutcases like Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a psychopath. In my book, he reminds me of a schizophrenic. One that has bad dementia. That's in my opinion. One moment. I often wonder, did anybody that vote for Donald Trump ever went and had their brain checked? Because something has to be wrong with you to vote for a man that wants to have Liz Cheney lined up with 9 rifles in her face. That is a nutcase.
If you haven't gotten your hands on one of these viral matching sets and you're seeing this video, then consider yourself lucky. They're from the mental health supporting brand
I made a speech to the African American Chamber of Commerce in South Carolina. Wonderful people. And the room was full. Every seat was full.
Every seat full? Not so much. This picture was taken while Mr. Trump was
All
speaking.
he does is lie.
Here's some video around the same time. Notice he's on stage. And notice the many empty seats in the back of the room.
We have a president that said 3,000. Now he wants to bring in 250,000 people.
In fact, the Obama administration only committed to letting in 10,000 refugees from Syria.
I watched when the World Trade Center came tumbling down. And I watched in Jersey City, New Jersey, where thousands and thousands of people were cheering.
And there were only a few people spotted cheering after the Twin Towers fell.
He just seems to have a disregard for the facts. About 3/4 of the statements we have rated have either earned mostly false, or pants on fire.
Don't worry about that baby. I love babies. So I love babies. I hear that baby crying. I like it. I like it. What a baby. Ripped us absolutely to shreds. Actually, I was only kidding. You can get the baby out of here. I think you would believe me that I love having a baby crying while I'm speaking. Do I look like a president? How handsome am I, right? How handsome? I will be the greatest jobs president that God ever created. I tell you, I went to an Ivy League school. I'm very highly educated. I know words. I have the best words. I have the...
Look down at the lower right-hand corner and you will see the name Tony Schwartz. Tony Schwartz, longtime journalist, was the ghostwriter for Art of the Deal.
Because one of the things you say is he has no attention span. It's impossible to keep him focused on any topic other than his own self-aggrandizement for more than a few minutes. Quote, you say to Jane Mayer, if he had to be briefed on a crisis in the Situation Room, it's impossible to imagine him paying attention over a long period of time. Didn't you have to get him to pay attention to you for a long period of time in order for you to co-write this book with him?
I almost gave up on the book, Rachel, halfway through because it was...
I'm going to have to move on to the next video because time is ticking away. The personality of a psychopath. Donald Trump is the psychopath. The dangerous case of Donald Trump. This is what we're going to watch right quick. Donald Trump is a person that doesn't care who he hurt. And I'm going to show you all that before I go off of here. So I will not be showing all of the videos. I'm going to show you snippets of them because time is ticking away. Donald Trump doesn't care who he hurts. He doesn't care who will go to prison for him. But he won't make it where they can get out. You're going to see something that happened yesterday. This man doesn't care about anybody but himself.
For this all over TikTok, it's the Alt 23 Crystal. Here's my opinion on it. Right, I wanted to show you guys. This is not.
My hair got rained on today, so just bear with me. It's a mess, a hot mess.
The Secretary of State calls the president a moron. The chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee then says that the Secretary of State is one of the 3 people who, quote, separate our country from chaos. This week's chaos in the Trump administration is by now unsurprising and was, in effect, predicted by the new book, The Dangerous Case of Donald Trump, 27 psychiatrists and mental health experts assess a president, edited by Bandy Lee, MD, a psychiatrist. The book includes and validates some of the general news media's speculation about Donald Trump's mental capacity. There is this passage in the book from a David Brooks column in the New York Times. He cannot be contained because he is psychologically off the chain. With each passing week, he displays the classic symptoms of medium-grade mania in more disturbing forms: inflated self-esteem, sleeplessness, impulsivity, aggression, and a compulsion to offer advice on subjects he knows nothing about. His speech patterns are like something straight out of a psychiatric textbook. Manics display something called flight of ideas. It's a formal thought disorder in which ideas tumble forth through a disordered chain of associations. One word sparks another, which sparks another, and they're off to the races. As one trained psychiatrist said to me, compare Donald Trump's speaking patterns to a Robin Williams monologue, but with insults instead of jokes. And David Brooks wrote that column over a year ago when Donald Trump was the Republican nominee for president. The reported reason that the Secretary of State called the president a moron was because the president compared the Afghanistan war policy to the renovations of the 21 Club restaurant in Midtown Manhattan. President Trump told his national security advisors a story of the 21 Club hiring very expensive consultants for a renovation that took well over a year and ended up changing virtually nothing in the restaurant. And Trump's point was that talking to the waiters at the restaurant would have led to a better, more efficient set of choices than listening to the so-called experts. And so why should he listen to the experts on Afghanistan? And when that story became public, the 21 Club said not one word of it was true. The owner of the 21 Club at the time said, I have no idea what was in his head. I never have.
I'll tell you what was in his head. Loose screws was in his head. Donald Trump is not playing with a full deck. The man is a maniac. That's why he didn't mind Elon's son acting a fool yesterday and talking to him the way that he did, because he can relate to it. He acts a fool just like that little boy, X. This particular video is going to, it's a law professor. He explains what alarms him about Trump's second term so far. Life under Trump, part 69. Whew. This man is a mess, a maniac. Destroying this country.
Every mid-level bureaucrat, every civil servant in the administrative state, replace them with our people. And when the courts, because you will get taken to court, and then when the courts stop you, stand before the country like Andrew Jackson did and say the Chief Justice has made his ruling, now let him enforce it.
That was then Senate candidate jdvance in 2021 with advice for a future Trump administration. You could interpret it one way as saying, well, ignore what the federal courts say. Now Vice President Vance and his boss in ways that might be alarming, have suggested that they may or may not follow exactly what federal judges say about actions taken in Trump 2.0. We'll have a conversation about this with Professor of Law and Public Policy at the University of Michigan, Samuel Bagnestos. He joins us now. Samuel, it's great to have you with us. That's an apocryphal story, by the way. Andrew Jackson didn't exactly say those very words, but it's taken on a kind of larger-than-life status within the Trump universe. The larger question is, do you see things undertaken in the first stages of the second Trump administration that you find legally alarming?
Well, sure. I think there's a lot that's legally alarming. We have a consistent pattern of this administration, and particularly in the efforts of Elon Musk rooting through agency after agency, of disregarding very clear statutes that Congress has passed to tell them what to do. They basically say they don't like the laws Congress has passed, so they're not going to follow them. They don't like having a USAID agency, which Congress created, so they're going to disestablish it themselves. They don't like spending Congress has adopted through law, so they're not going to spend it. You know, they don't like various restrictions on the civil service, so they're not going to follow them. I think that's very alarming. I think it's alarming that the administration has taken such an aggressive approach to firing all of the people within the government who could impose significant checks, like firing over a dozen inspectors general without following the procedure required by the statute to provide a reason to Congress and provide a waiting period so that Congress can respond. You know, these mass reassignments and some firings within the Department of Justice, the suggestion of mass firings within the FBI, all of people who were involved in investigating Trump-related and January 6th related activity. You know, it's all part and parcel of a pattern of saying we do not believe we are bound by law. Now, the courts will have something to say about that and have had something to say about that over the past few days. You've seen order after order issued by courts telling them to stop. And, you know, they have the Trump administration has not said they're going to defy any of these orders. You know, there's all this sort of chatter and noise, but, you know, I think.
But jdvance said that he is the president, that Donald Trump is the president, so he doesn't have to follow what the judge orders are. The judge has banned Elon Musk and Donald Trump several times. Also from the Treasury Department, Department of Education. But they feel that Donald Trump doesn't have to follow the law. Even if he was a king, he could be dethroned. Impeach Trump. I have another video for y'all about Bannon pleads guilty. Justice matters. Steve Bannon is in this situation because of Donald Trump. Like Michael Cohen went to federal prison because of Donald Trump. But Donald Trump always seemed to wiggle his way out of going to prison. He only wanted to be president to stay out of prison. Elon Musk is your acting president right now. jdvance supposed to be the vice president, but Donald Trump is acting as your vice president. One moment, please.
I'm losing weight and feeling confident thanks to hers. I got prescribed compounded GLP-1 injections, which have the same active ingredient as Ozempic and Wegovy. Through hers, I get a reliable supply I can count on with.
Well, friends, one of Donald Trump's former attack dogs, Steve Bannon, just pleaded guilty to felony fraud.
Thanks to Donald Trump.
Because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, one of Donald Trump's boys from back in the day, Steve Bannon, defrauded people, likely Trump supporters, out of their hard-earned dollars with a border wall scheme, the We Build the Wall Foundation.
And MAGA fell for it.
Recently announcing that he'd retained another lawyer, new counsel, to take a more aggressive stance at trial, with Bannon saying, quote, "I've been smeared by a political persecution for years. In going to trial, I need to be more aggressive. We'll use every tool in the toolbox to fight this," Bannon said. Yeah, after all of that, Bannon just pleaded guilty to felony fraud. This from CNN. Headline: Steve Bannon pleads guilty to defrauding donors in private border wall scheme. And that article begins: conservative firebrand Steve Bannon pleaded guilty to defrauding donors in a fundraising effort to build a wall along the southern U.S. border. Bannon pleaded guilty to one state felony count of a scheme to defraud in the first degree. Prosecutor Jeffrey Levinson said there's no restitution because Bannon's co-defendants in a related federal case already returned millions of dollars to victims. Bannon spoke briefly in court, answering the judge's questions. "Yes, Your Honor," he said, when asked if he engaged in the scheme to which he was pleading guilty. Prosecutors fought to stop recent efforts to delay the trial, which was scheduled to start on March 4. It also marks a second conviction for Bannon, who was found guilty of contempt of Congress. He served 4 months in federal prison and was released in November. Bannon was first indicted on federal charges in 2020, along with others involved in the fundraising effort. Trump pardoned Bannon before leaving office in 2021, and the Manhattan District Attorney's Office launched its own investigation. Can I pause there for a second? So Steve Bannon defrauded people with this, scheme claiming they were going to build the wall, just send us money. Do you think the people sending Steve Bannon money to build a wall on the southern border were likely Trump supporters? But instead of being outraged that his supporters were being defrauded, what does Donald Trump do? He pardons Steve Bannon for the federal charges. But of course, pardons don't apply to state crimes. So Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg indicted Steve Bannon for the state laws that he violated. All my editorial edition. The article continues. Bannon, a former chief strategist to President Donald Trump, was indicted in 2022 on state charges of money laundering, conspiracy, and fraud related to an online fundraising scheme called We Build the Wall that solicited donations on the premise of building a wall along the U.S.-Mexico border. Prosecutors say Bannon and others raised over $15 million by falsely claiming that none of the money would be used to pay the salary of one of the founders. And here's what District Attorney Alvin Bragg said after Steve Bannon pleaded guilty to felony fraud. Quote, "This resolution achieves our primary goal, to protect New Yorkers' charities and New Yorkers' charitable giving from fraud," Bragg said afterwards. "New York has an important interest in rooting out fraud in our markets, our corporations, and our charities, and we will continue to do just that." And here's what this 7-second trip helped me.
And Donald Trump has how many felonies for fraud? 34 felonies for fraud. Donald Trump is a convicted felon. And you picked him to be in the White House. Yeah. The maniac. The person that wants to take your grandmother's Social Security. Yeah. The person that allowed Elon Musk to steal our information. Make sure you contact your local senators and let them know how you feel. I want to thank each and every last one of y'all for coming to my live. Hit that like button before you leave out. We got more tomorrow. This was Life Under Trump, part 69. It will be Life Under Trump, part 70 tomorrow. I love you guys. Have a blessed evening. Bye.